Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation. Of this long-term and complex investigation. Of this long-term and complex investigation. Of this long-term and complex investigation.
What is up? What is up? Again, welcome to the transparency. Ooh. Let's see. We got some documents to go over. Making sure you guys can hear me. Again, welcome members, subscribers. What is good? Good evening. Wow. Again, we're going to be talking about the Delphi case, documents that just dropped. Hector, the projector, will be bringing it to us. Go look, take a look. All right. So, yes, you guys can hear me? Okay, good. Because I can't hear you guys. You guys, just when you thought that this case can't get any crazier, the defense puts in a motion to say, Houston, we have a problem. And that's what we're going to talk about. And this problem is that while the defense was going through the discovery, obviously you guys saw the Franks. They were trying to get a hold of, and they asked the prosecutors, specifically Mr. Nick there, hey, we need this video or recording of Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall. And this was right before Nick said he wants it to be removed. Gall wants to remove the Richard Allen's defense team. If you start connecting the dots, you're going to see why this was happening, why they wanted these 2 lawyers off the case. It's because they were coming for the goods that were buried, the goods that were destroyed. But let's talk about when it was destroyed. And we're going to get into these motions, or this motion here. So comes now the accused, Richard Allen, buying through his defense. Number 1, Richard Allen stands accused of murdering 2 victims on or about February 13, 2017. Since receiving discovery on the case, the defense has unearthed significant evidence that third parties named Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall were involved in the murders. Wow. The evidence is critical to the theory of defense. Number 3, the defense would incorporate into this motion the contents of a Frank's memorandum. And I actually pulled out the pages that I wanted from it to put together this timeline. But that memorandum was filed with this court on September 18, 2023. And it provided details of the evidence that supports Brad Holder's and Patrick Westfall's involvement in the murders. Number 4, in discovery, the defense found a document dated February 17, 2017 that appeared to be an FBI report. The reason I underline FBI is because FBI did this in this interview. They wrote up the report. So I went ahead and I made sure that I underlined that. This interview was not conducted by local law enforcement. It was conducted by the FBI. And in this report, it was memorializing an interview of Brad Holder. Contained within the document are these words, which says, and this is normal to say, the below is an interview summary. It is not intended to be a verbatim account and does not memorialize all statements made during the interview. Communications by the parties in the interview room were electronically recorded. The recording captures the actual words spoken, emphasis added. Now, when you're turning over and you're doing an investigation and you write up your report, you supply this recording. This was done in 2017. Okay, this isn't, a 2000 case, a 1999 case. This is 2017, where we're using devices and then we're supplying it usually via like a thumb drive. I mean, some type of device that is not outdated to the point of what is going to be more or less alleged here by the state and then also by the defense. Number 5 says, after locating the document, the defense sought a copy of the recording detailed in the February 17, 2017 report so that the defense could listen to the exact spoken words of Brad Holder during his interview. This is vital to Allen's defense. Now, I've seen people talk about whatever led them to ever interview Brad Holder in the first place, Patrick Westfall in the first place. I cross-referenced with the Franks, and there was a tipster that wrote in the tip line on February 16th, the day before this interview, and supplied Brad Holder's Facebook and the stuff in the what was on it, and saying, "This is Brad Holder. This is Abby's ex-boyfriend's dad." And this person had no idea about the crime scene and showed, and they talk about that in the Franks. But that was on February 16th. And then this interview was on February 17th. So just putting that in perspective of just why and how was Brad Holder, interviewed and sought so early. There was a tip that came in reporting basically his Facebook page because it was that disturbing, unbeknownst to this tipster. Okay. But the stuff on his Facebook resembled the crime scene. So here they asked the Richard's defense team is saying, "Hey, we want these recordings." Again, the exact words spoken of Brad Holder during this interview. This is vital to Allen's defense, particularly the statements that the author of the document admits were not memorialized in the document. Number 7, also, the defense requested a copy of all audio video of Patrick Westfall's interview that was memorialized in a February 19th, 2017 report. Number 8, on September 8th, 2023, The prosecutor communicated in a letter that there were no audio or video interviews of Brad Holder or Patrick Westfall available. Prosecutor McClellan offered no explanation as to why these didn't exist. Before the defense had an opportunity, this is number 9, to investigate the reason why these material pieces of evidence were not available, Prosecutor McClellan called for the disqualification of attorneys Rossi and Baldwin as Richard Allen's lawyers. So what truly was the reasoning for wanting these 2 lawyers off the case? Judge Gall, without a great deal of hesitation, said she was leaning towards, granting McClellan's request. Ultimately, Judge Gall caused Rossi and Baldwin to be taken off the case. This occurred before Baldwin and Rossi learned of why crucial videotaped interviews were missing. On January 31st, 2024, so just a couple days ago, after being reinstated to the case, the prosecution turned over discovery to the defense, including a letter. It was a catalog. It was cataloging the evidence that the prosecutor was turning over to the defense. Number 11 says, contained on page 5, paragraph 5 of this itemized of discovery, like this list, are these words that explain Brad Holder's missing videotaped interview and Patrick Westfall's missing interview. Again, if one existed. It says, due to a DVR program error discovered on 9/20/2017, all recordings up to February 20th, 2017 were recorded over. There is no detectable audio found on this drive. Now, again, take a look at this. I make my own little notes. So this was discovered on 9/20/2017. And so I noted that it was like 7 months later. How did they ever possibly come across at this point? Who was looking for these 2 interviews that they came across this and made a note of it on 9/20/2017 to say that these interviews were recorded over? Now, I have a problem with understanding this because how would they possibly be in a position to be recorded over if I'm conducting an interview and I have my device that I'm recording on? Then after I'm done, interviewing you, and I press stop and I download it and I provide it with my written report, there's a chain, a custody chain of evidence, and then I hand it over. So the FBI was the one that did this interview, did both of these interviews. I also thought that the FBI keeps a copy of whatever they do. I could be wrong. My work with the Chris Watts case, the FBI had their own shit going on. They've supplied their shit to, Frederick and shit like that. But they had their own files. 100. Like, I was involved in that case. So now, if I'm understanding this correctly, are you saying that due to a DVR program error discovered on 9/20/2017, all recordings up to February 20th, 2017 were recorded over? Does that mean that you're talking about any interview that took place between the time of the crime and until February 20th, not just these 2? That means like no interviews that were recorded exist? Now, there is no detectable audio found on this drive. If I was the FBI, I'd be super pissed if I turn over the interviews that I would have conducted to help in this instance, and that somebody, how are you obtaining DVR? What DVR? What the fuck are you talking about? I just can't get past this. Okay. But my question here is how did these people even realize this? Let me ask you this. 7 months goes by, and then you're going back and you're getting, because you want to listen to these interviews, and you realize, holy shit, none of these interviews exist. These interviews were recorded over. How does you download them? If you're what? And I thought everybody is responsible for their own reports so that they turn in to like, unified command. I just don't do. Thank you for that gifted membership there. I just saw that. Whoever our lucky winner was, look out. So the DVR, that's like the hard drive. When you DVR something, it's downloading and you're recording. Like, think about what you did with your TV back in the day. I mean, just wild, just fucking wild. Anyways, moving on. Again, my big thing is I want to know, what made them realize this? What was transpiring that somebody was going through and trying to attempt to, get his interview or Patrick Westfall's or other people's to even go ahead and make a reported note that, hey, oh my God, we're missing now every interview from February 14th until February 20th in terms of recordings of, like, that's a lot of recordings that you recorded over. Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall were interviewed during this very short window. Okay. So that's what leads me to believe that they literally aren't just talking about these two men. They're talking about everything within those days. The videotaped interviews were deleted by the police. It is unknown what other interviews were deleted during the relevant time frames. The destruction of material interviews of key suspects early in the investigation demonstrates negligence. It doesn't even matter who would be the defendant at this point. This isn't a Richard Allen problem. This is whoever would be the defendant in the situation or defendants. How does this happen? I mean, it doesn't happen. This is murder. You're recording over or you're deleting to, excuse me? I'm just shocked that the FBI, maybe they haven't been contacted, that the FBI wouldn't have copies of anything and everything that they did, because I thought that they do that. Now, again, the destruction of material interviews of key suspects early in the investigation demonstrates negligence, if not intentional conduct on the part of the state. How could law enforcement, while investigating the most serious of crimes, record over interviews of material suspects with recklessness or intentionality? Think about if you were on trial for murder, and this is what, like, every time your lawyer goes to try to get something, it's just another hiccup, or you could say another, just like, I just call it like, I can't believe it moment. There's enough in this case to this case is going down in history. But number 12, as a material part of his defense, Richard Allen is expected to direct the attention toward Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall as being involved in the murders of these two young victims. The evidence will also show that Richard Allen does not know Brad Holder or Patrick Westfall, and therefore that Richard Allen had nothing to do with the murders, meaning those two guys did have something to do with it. He doesn't know them. And why would those two ever invite somebody that they don't know to their murder plan? This destroyed videotaped interview of Holder and of Patrick Westfall, if it ever existed, was expected to contain evidence that could provide exculpatory and material evidence in support of Richard Allen's defense. If a recording of Westfall was never secured, that too is a purposeful or negligent failure to preserve material and exculpatory evidence. Number 13, experienced defense lawyers fully understand the significance of comparing and contrasting the accuracy and credibility of one's video/audio tape statements with that information which is represented by law enforcement officers in police reports or summaries. It is through this process that Richard Allen, just like any of us that would be in his position, would have been able to challenge the veracity of the statements of Holder and Westfall. However, the state's intentional or negligent destruction of the original recordings deprive the accused of such an opportunity. I can't even. The state's actions have deprived the defense of the ability to compare Brad Holder's words from February 17, 2017, again, only 3 days after the victims were murdered, to the evidence that was unearthed over the next several weeks, months, and years. This would have allowed Richard Allen to determine whether Holder's story was consistent with unknown evidence at the time of Holder's first statement, and whether it is consistent or inconsistent with future testimony, by that trial testimony or deposition testimony or statements made to other persons/witnesses. In any criminal investigation, the interviews of potential witnesses must be preserved, such as the precise words of Holder and Westfall in their 2017 interviews. Because as additional information is developed, reviewing prior statements may reveal inconsistencies or raise questions about other witnesses or other information relevant to an unbiased investigation. Number 16 is without the actual audio/video that would provide the exact words spoken from Brad Holder's mouth, the accused, Richard Allen, will never, ever be able to know exactly how many inconsistencies existed in the original statements of Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall when compared to the evidence that was later discovered or future testimony. Westfall, nor can Richard Allen challenge the credibility of Holder and Westfall in light of subsequently discovered evidence. Now, I went ahead and made a little note here because I'm going to show you guys the Franks here in a minute I want to know now how much more credible, if you guys didn't deem her credible, back in the day, how important is Amber Holder, at the time, the wife of Brad Holder? Does this increase Amber Holder's stock? What type of value do you now put on everything that she said in interviews? I believe that her stock rises. Furthermore, Allen is deprived of the ability to confront either suspect with their words, contradicting any self-serving testimony that they may offer throughout the investigation or prosecution. On August 30, 2023, following depositions in which the state of Indiana and law enforcement learned that the defense believed Brad Holder to be an actor in the murders, law enforcement finally re-interviewed Holder for what is believed to be the first time since 2017. Well, in 2017, according to the memorialized report, Brad Holder told law enforcement that he never met Abby Williams, who was purportedly dating his son. His story changed in 2023, though, when he talked to law enforcement this past time. In 2023, Holder told the interviewer at the 3909 mark of this recorded interview, "I barely even knew that girl. I met her once." Oh, shit. Mm. Therefore, one material and highly relevant contradiction does exist right there. So he said in 2017 he's never met her, and then here in 2023, when asked about it, he said that he met her like once. I barely even knew her. I met her once. It is therefore plausible that many more contradictions would be available to the defense, but for the state's intentional or negligent failure to preserve all of the evidence. Such negligent and intentional conduct on the part of the police has also resulted in the absence of material evidence which could be exculpatory in nature. This circumstance, in and of itself, violates Richard Allen's due process. We must, however, place such conduct in a greater and more noteworthy context. It has also been discovered that former Rushville police officer Todd Click reached out to prosecutor McClelland in an attempt to bring his attention the existence of an 85-page report summarizing the investigation that revolved around Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, and other affiliates. This letter, which landed on prosecutor McClelland's desk via certified mailing on May 1st, 2023, was not discovered to the defense until more than 4 months later, on September 8th, 2023. Richard Allen was arrested in November of 2022. They were obviously assigned right away. This gets on McClelland's desk in May of 2023, and it doesn't get turned over for 4 months to the defense. But check out the dates. Like, I love dates. More than 4 months later, on September 8th, 2023. Everything was going crazy on September 8th, 2023. And only after the defense disclosed in depositions that they were aware of Odin's ties to the crime scene and investigation. So, this failure to disclose on the part of the prosecutor, if not entirely intentional, rises to the level of an untimely failure of disclosure of potentially exculpatory evidence. The failure to disclose sheds further suspicion on the absence of the Holder and Westfall interviews referenced herein. Furthermore, as explained in the Franks memo, it appears as if law enforcement and possibly the prosecutor himself attempted to conceal the identity of a Purdue professor who contradicts the sworn words of Trooper Jerry Holman and Sheriff Tony Liggett concerning whether the crime scene contained signs of the involvement of the Odinist cult. In more recent discovery, defense also located a prepared search warrant application to AT&T for data contained on Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall's 2017 devices. So they prepared a search warrant. Each application states that Holder/Westfall is a known member of a religious sect, and elements of the murder have potential religious significance. They wrote this in a search warrant application. Shut the fuck up. You can't. I mean, come on. So everybody out there that wants to say that these lawyers are crazy for talking about this being a, religious, blah, 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 blah. No. That started not by the defense. It started with your boys going to get them search warrants. They're saying it because it's true. It resembles something. That's all. It's just, it's a true statement. It can resemble that. I cannot believe that I'm about to read it to you guys right now. Here we go. Again, each application states that Holder Westfall is a known member of a religious sect and elements of the murder have potential religious significance. The information being requested is relevant to an ongoing criminal investigation. End quote. There is no evidence that the warrant was ever served, meaning they applied for it, got it. They never served it upon AT&T. What? There is no evidence that the warrant was ever served. I cannot believe what I'm just like. Also, the defense has not located any discovery regarding any data contained on Holder's and Westfall's 2017 phones or any other electronic devices. It defies logic that law enforcement would conduct forensic examinations of so many other phones in its investigation, yet ignore the phones of Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall, who were viewed as suspects within 3 days of the murders and interviewed by law enforcement, who then prepared search warrants for those phones. These suspicious facts further call into question the circumstances surrounding the destruction of key videotaped statements of Holder and Westfall. Again, if it ever existed, and support Richard Allen's motion to dismiss all charge filed by the state of Indiana. Defendant requests a hearing at which time he can present evidence and make arguments as to why these charges should be dismissed. He's asking for a hearing. The defense filed a memorandum in support, and it's basically just a bunch of case law. I will, I'm not going to go through all that, but what I want to show you guys is, so me, I wanted to look into who and when and where, because again, I plot everything. I do numbers with my brain, and I said, how do they realize, in September of 2017 that all of this is missing? What were they doing that they were able to discover that, because if you truly listen to the words that are being said, it would look kind of suspicious if just 2 of those interviews were, recorded over. How I see this is are you sitting here telling me right now that there are no recorded interviews in evidence of anybody that was interviewed from 2014 to from February 14th, 2017 to February 20th, 2017? Anybody? Sure sounds like it to me, says need some Z's. Guys, this is bigger than you can even imagine. What's up, Sean K? Girl, good to see you. Thank you so very much from my heartland. I always jump on for Delphi. I know Andy will fight. You're helping beyond anyone. Well, I got some stuff. So I was covering this right before the Idaho 4 case happened. And I was starting back from the beginning. And so I went and I pulled out, and I want to show you guys what I found, what I think is interesting. Because I'm trying to find out who, like, do we really truly think that all these interviews are gone? Or were they purposely destroyed? I mean, is this truly like, I mean, this is, you have all eyes on you. You even had it back then. How do you think that you're going to like just not have the recordings of things? Like, I'm telling you, my understanding of the FBI is that they have their own shit. So if the FBI in fact did these two interviews, well, at least for sure the Brad Holder interview, do they have a copy of this somewhere? You know, did they have his? But what was interesting to me is why were Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder like interviewed so quickly, like so early on? You know, was it the tie of Abby with, you know, that being her boyfriend's dad, whether it was like an ex-boyfriend ever, or was it something else? And actually, it was based on a tipster that wrote in and said that that Brad Holder's Facebook page is crazy and that y'all need to look at this shit. And it caught the attention of that tipster enough to, okay, we bring him in the next day. So let me show you guys this. When this Franks was written up, they hadn't heard back from the prosecution. And since that's why I think this is the most interesting, is that when they didn't hear back from the prosecution yet, as far as, hey, we need this material, where is it? Page 55 of this Franks is where the coverage begins on the defense would encourage the court to stop and review this document. Oh, before continuing on, which right here, I'm sorry, Brad Holder's connections to the crime scene. So I went ahead and I looked back at this after I saw this, you know, this motion drop today. I went back out and got my stuff out. And I wanted to take a look and show you that right here. So let me go ahead and make this a little clearer, bigger. Because I wanted to see who, if I could narrow down specifically who in law enforcement maybe was, you know, there's nothing to see over here type thing. So take a look at this. Okay. Right here, Amber Holder tells a very disturbing story. So, as can be viewed on page 9 of the OWN report, because she was, you know, interviewed. Amber said that Brad spoke of Patrick one time when he was intoxicated and said that he and Patrick got into a fight and that they no longer speak to each other. Again, how much is her stock going to rise? Okay. So he told her that he and Westfall were in the woods near a river conducting a ritual. One of them said or did something that the other did not agree with, and they no longer talked to each other. She said the river was near Patrick's house. Note, Brad has a Facebook post with him and Patrick together on January 21st, 2017. So they were together January 1st, 2021, or I'm sorry, January 21st, 2017. And that's just signifying that, like, the murders was, you know, obviously just 3 weeks later. Patrick Westfall is 7-minute drive from the crime scene, and that they're there every weekend, right? Well, her second interview, Amber said that Brad became very nervous and told her that she needed to stay away from Westfall or she would end up dead. She said that Brad told her Westfall and his crew was responsible for the murders of the girls in Delphi and a fire that killed 2 girls. I asked her if she knew of the fires in Flora that killed 4 girls, and she said that she was not familiar with any fires that killed any children until Brad mentioned it today. She said Brad may have been talking about that fire, but maybe had the number of killed wrong. She said Brad told her that Westfall and his crew had friends in several states and that they have no problem killing race traitors. Now, again, how people, back when this first came out, they weren't giving Amber Holder as much, there wasn't much stock in what she was saying, okay? My question is now, after this motion, how much does Amber, at the time she was married to this guy, how much does her stock rise in what she's saying? I'm sorry, but for me, her stock just went from being like here, 2, 3. This bitch is an 8 now. Her stock through the roof. Her interview happened way later, now. Okay. On April 7th, 2017, Holder posted a photo of a hand mark with the exact rune found on Abby's body. Now, I'm going to skip this part only because they just go back and forth on Holman can't admit to the obvious, but then they talk about the sketch, but we get to the tipster. Here we go. Okay. Trooper Purdy learned from Becky Patty that Brad Holder was an onist. How does Becky Patty know that? You understand what that sentence says right there? When Trooper Purdy learned from Becky Patty that Brad Holder, how does she know that? How does Becky Patty know Brad Holder? At least for a short period of time, he was curious about Brad Holder. This short-term curiosity led to Purdy looking into Brad's Facebook page, where Purdy found a very eerie photograph. Okay. Now, ready? This photograph, again, the similarities with like the crime scene, right? But here it is. This is how powerful this is. The similarity of the photo found on Brad Holder's Facebook page is pronounced. Purdy did not think much of this photograph in terms of its implicating Brad Holder. At least that is what he is now claiming. However, even before Purdy had found that disturbing image on Holder's Facebook page, a tipster had beat him to the punch by finding it much, much earlier. The contents of a February 16th, 2017 tip was written up in a report designated, and that's just the name of the tip. The tip came in just 2 days. Okay, 2 days after the girls were found. The tip said the following: father of Logan Holder, ex-boyfriend of Libby, social media shows him a member of Vinlanders, posts of half-dead women and fascination with gothic figures and symbols out of tree branches. This report shows that Liggett actually approved further investigation of Brad Holder based upon that tip. That's where this tip, literally February 16th, he was interviewed February 17th. Okay. And right here, Liggett actually approved this. So when I went ahead and I made a little note of this, that Liggett approved this. So it wasn't Liggett burying this right away. Okay. He approved it. Sure. Now, this very same disturbing image came to the attention of law enforcement a third time by way of a gentleman named Ryan. He's from Georgia. This tip was received by Trooper Joseph Winters on April 12th, 2017. Now, this is... Okay. Remember I said I want to know when I thought... I'm trying to figure out a time frame when I think things went a little south. Well, this is what we're getting to. So here, this Ryan guy, Boucher, his affidavit detailed other aspects of the case discussed in the memorandum, and because he talked on the phone to Tobe. As the affidavit details, he talked directly to then sheriff about his findings. This conversation would have occurred sometime before that, April 12th, 2017, the conversation with Trooper Winters. Lazenby told Ryan that Holder was not a suspect and quickly dispensed of the phone call as detailed in his affidavit. So I went ahead and noted that here's your boy, this one now, okay, saying nothing to see here. He's not a suspect. Despite Lazenby's comments essentially telling Ryan Boucher that Holder had been eliminated as a suspect, Ryan was undeterred, so he just kept on because he felt something was off and called the state police post as detailed in the Winters report. So after he tries to get in, he got brushed off. He then went to the state police and he provided his ID. Boucher then provided Winters pictures from Holder's media account depicting the tree limbs on the ground, displaying the runes consistent with the Odin belief system. Then Winters wrote in the report that, quote unquote, the provided media pictures show unknown young girls believed to be deceased with sticks placed over their bodies. The sticks across the females on Holder's media were believed to be symbols or runes. Okay. And it should be noted that law enforcement has, to this day, still failed to turn over this mimicked murder photograph found on Holder's Facebook page. Again, they had it. So it's like, discovery, how the defense had to go get it was they had to go to Georgia. They drove to Georgia to meet good old Ryan. Okay. And let's see. So if it wasn't for them going to Georgia, they still wouldn't have that picture. Now, this means that right here, that if the defense team had not traveled to Georgia, they would not be in possession of this exculpatory piece of evidence and also would not have been able to ask questions at depositions to law enforcement concerning those images. To this very day, the state of Indiana has yet to turn over the images that he provided Winters back in 2017. Now, following his interaction with Ryan, meaning Winters, as can be read in Winters' report, it was apparent that Trooper Winters' interest was piqued. The details surrounding the February 14, 2017 crime scene was a well-guarded secret, hidden from the public. Yet somehow, Brad Holder, an Odenite, whose son dated Abby, had one, an image on his Facebook page that closely resembled the crime scene, and two, appeared to have an ink pen to draw a rune on his hand that mimicked the very rune that was found on Abby. Both images are described in Winter's report. So what did Winters do once he realized that it appeared that Abby's boyfriend's dad, Brad Holder, appeared to know intimate details about a crime scene kept so confidential from the public? He spoke with Jerry Holman. The information, so what I'm trying to show you guys is I'm doing my own command here of chain of custody of information to see who and when and how I believe that this shit got buried and why and when it did, it got buried. When did these recordings go, because you can't just delete those recordings. That'll look too obvious. So we got to wipe out the 14th or the 20th? Let's zoom in here though. So here he goes to, because I wanted to know who had the information. So here, Jerry. The information that Winters unearthed via Ryan Butcher was so impactful on Winters that Winters remembers talking with Jerry of the Unified Command. Winters even recorded the following in his report. I spoke with Holman on April 12th. So he went the same day to the dude. April 12th is when Winters was contacted. So he contacts, Holman the same day. All right. So just think about that. Contacts the same day. And advised that FBI had interviewed Holder shortly at the beginning of the investigation. Do you see that right there? I spoke with Holman on April 12th, 2017. Sergeant Holman advised that FBI had interviewed Holder shortly at the beginning of the investigation. He knew it just like that. You have so much manpower on this case, okay? And a lot of people are doing a lot of different things. How did you know that the FBI was the ones that, just boom, knew it? He knew it just like that he went ahead and wrote it in his report. Wouldn't you have to say, well, let me take a look at that. Let me see, Brad Holder, who the fuck's that? God bless America. Boom, just remember just like that. I knew that the FBI did it. Again, so he's put that in his report that shortly at the beginning of the investigation. In his deposition, Winters provided his reasoning. Yeah, I think there's some substantial things that need to follow up on. In the same deposition, Winters also said that he wanted to make sure that all of the information I had captured in my time from that was passed on. And because I had just taken that information, I just wanted to make sure if I had no contact with anybody involved in this case again, that they were aware that I generated this supplement. Let me tell you what Baldwin and Rozzi did in these depositions ahead of time, and I don't even know what they consist of. They didn't ask a single question that they already didn't know the answer to. So much so that here they were knowing exactly what they were going to get down to see. They didn't believe that. They believed that they were not given this stuff because it didn't exist anymore. They already thought that. So take a look. So much so that literally when some of this Franks didn't make sense, now that you have the motion that they filed, when you go back and you read certain things and you're putting it together in this timeline, it makes 100 times more sense. And what they're talking about literally right here is they're asking this Winters guy, why did you pick up the phone immediately and call Holman. Like it says at April 12th, and you're contacting Holman, with this. And meanwhile, the local guys are just, Brad Holder's he's not a suspect. Thanks, bye. We don't even care what the fuck you have to say. The state police, this guy went immediately to Holman, Jerry. And Jerry knew it like that Winters went ahead and wrote up in his report to say, like they knew all of it. They buried it way earlier than I ever thought they did. Then something had to happen in September of 2017 where then it surfaces and they make a note publicly within their shit to say, we don't. So somebody went digging again and they couldn't find the stuff that they were looking for. And that's how they like uncovered it. And I'm curious to know who that person was that went digging and not knowing. How do you not know that your shit is in a double murder? How do you not know for 7 months? If you're actively like, you'd be listening to these interviews, you'd be, this should be high priority. You got tons of people, manpower. So you're going to go through and you're going to listen to stuff again and see what you find in it. And, have a couple of people just listen to both, every interview. And that way, different perspective and whatever. How would you not know for 7 months that you're missing this shit? You wouldn't. You're saying you didn't listen to any of that shit for 7 months, none of that stuff? You wonder why it took this long to get a suspect. What were they doing? Or did they really know before that and then they just had to, make their note a lot later. But Winters felt that the tip was important. Ryan's tip, Boucher's important. His tip was important. He felt it so important that he wanted to make sure someone followed up on the lead by, at a minimum, re-interviewing Brad Holder. Again, it should be noted that as of September 11th, 2023, the defense has still not received the February 17th, 2017 interview of Holder. Even the state of Indiana's most recent discovery dump, which occurred on September 8th, 2023, still did not contain Holder's February 17th, 2017 interview. However, on September 8th, 2023, Rick's defense team learned something very interesting. On about September 4th, 2023, Trooper Holman finally followed up on Winters' request by finally, and now Holman did this, so think about that. Okay. And Holman re-interviewing Holder. It only took 5+ years. The defense still has not received Holder's first interview from February 17, 2017. We will see how long it takes for the state to turn over Holder's second interview from September 4th, 2023. If Holman did, in fact, re-interview Holder on September 4th, 2023, it should be noted that the interview came on the heels of the defense team's contentious August 10th, 2023 deposition of Holman. They deposed him. The defense asked Holman, quote unquote, "Are you going to fix these problems or are you going to actually look for the truth? Are you going to fix," they set him up. "Are you going to fix these problems or are you going to actually look for the truth?" His response, "I'm going to look for the truth, but I think I've already found the truth. But I definitely will look into this. No doubt about it. And I will find out if we have done the follow-ups and I don't know about it. And I will let Prosecutor McClellan know and he can forward that information to you." Damn, I wonder what type of questions those were. Those were either softball questions or, hey, we got to do this deposition. They talk beforehand and say, ooh. The defense looks forward to watching the first Holder interview from February 2017, as well as the most recent Holder interview, to see if Holman treated Holder as an actual suspect, a label befitting the strong evidence that connects him to the murders, or if Holman's interview consists of softball questions lobbed at Holder with the purpose of fending off the defense rather than seeking the truth. Rossi and Baldwin have aces up their sleeves, guys. I know it. You can see it with the work. They were all doing all this, and then everything got distracted, and it needed to get distracted. Because holy shit. Holy shit. Question is, when did that shit get deleted? Did it get deleted after, like, did people really truly remember that it existed? What did Brad Holder say in that interview that could have possibly incriminated him to the point of, what if he said he was at the trails that day? You know, I mean, truly, what could be that awful that you need to delete it? If you truly think about it. Anyways, that was curious to see. Yeah, so people want to say that Brad Holder got called in because his son was dating Abby at one point. No, that's not true. He got called in and interviewed because of the tip that came in on the 16th. On the 16th, in my humble opinion. What do you guys think? What do you guys got? Do you think that Gall is going to entertain this at all? Do you think that she kind of has to? I personally believe that it's going to come to a point that's just too much is too much. And I think this would be a great opportunity for Gall, like as far as if she's thinking about her career, if anything else, if she's not going to do the right thing for two girls that got murdered. But I mean, they have to give him this hearing. She's taking one for the team. I don't know. I personally believe Gall is knowness. I don't see how a jury is going to find Richard Allen guilty. Do you understand that the state's witnesses are going to get on that stand like the witnesses that saw allegedly, Richard Allen? The information that got totally changed around in the affidavit for the probable cause. I mean, Indiana is seriously, the taxpayers of Indiana should be so pissed. The state's paying for all of this. He has public defenders. The states, obviously they have the case. Literally they're just taking thousands of dollars in front of all of you in Indiana and lighting it on fire every single day. Let's see mainstream media ignore this. You know what I noticed about mainstream media with this is what they do. Okay, hey guys, we have to cover it, but this would be something that they should be covering, like, boom, right as it's like today. This is breaking news. what I've started to notice what mainstream media does, and anytime it doesn't fit their narrative, they cover it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days later. What a bunch of pussies. I don't know how anybody can seriously say to themselves, like, I was baffled when I saw Hugh's title for his live. And you know me, I never talk about stuff like this. I seriously said to myself, what is up, Kay Miller in the house? I said, Lana, do you mind if I share link in community to that ADL article that explains these folks a little? I don't know what link you're talking about, but I don't know where you're. I know that my chat doesn't, you can't show links in there. What was that stupid headline? Hold on, I want to say it right. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like I put out yesterday, I'm showing a dead man's phone moving around when it's supposed to be with, him and laying on the ground next to him as he's dead. But nothing to see here. The police didn't just run around with it. Get the fuck out. Here we go. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Okay. If I go to this, I go to live. Maybe he changed the title of it. Yeah, he changed the title of it. Good for him. Good for him, because I about died. He changed the title of it. I said, you cannot do that. He's basically saying it's crap. Wait, you guys, if any one of us were being charged with even like robbery, like robbing the store for some lollipops, you're deleting video, like recordings, you're deleting interviews. And then of all people, the people that Richard Allen's defense team does all this stuff and to get to the bottom of all this stuff, just to come to find out that we're being notified that those don't exist. They were in quotes again. What was it? Due to a DVR program error. Okay. You know what that reminds me of is when I used to record 90210 in Melrose Place back in the day, 1998, 99. I'd record on Wednesday nights. I would always record because I had basketball practice. And it was awesome because then I get to watch it and fast forward to the commercial. So whatever. But if I didn't get to it before Sunday, good luck, because my dad was going to record Sunday NFL, the Buffalo Bills just like being so amazing all those years and then just always choking in the fucking Super Bowl. But I would just, if I didn't watch my shit, it was going to be totally recorded over with fucking Sunday football, which, I mean, I love football, don't get me wrong, but it's like, I knew that I had to get to my 90210 before Sunday and my Melrose Place before Sunday. Otherwise, it's going to be gone. It's going to be recorded over. And I was trying to teach my dad, I'm like, Dad, you do not have to rewind the tape. Just press right where you're at. Just record, like you're going to be right behind it. No, never worked. Kay Miller playing Oprah. You get a membership. You get a membership. Everybody gets a membership. But guys, please tell me, explain to me. Yes, do you guys think Ari is completely innocent? I do. I do. Due to a DVR program error discovered on 9/20/2017. How do you discover this on 9/20/2017? I thought about that and I said, how? That means that nobody listened to any of the interviews before 9/20/2017 in a double murder. How about I'll put it to you this way? This man has been in jail since basically, think of how long the Idaho 4 case has been going on. That's how long he's basically been in prison. I put it to you this way: who asked me if I think Richard Allen's innocent? I will tell you this: Richard Allen will be acquitted of these murders, and then ultimately, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is what they wanted to have happen in this case. They wanted this case never solved. They wanted the people that were responsible for this to, they're scot-free. Because I've never seen a situation where somebody says, after an acquittal, okay, we're going to go out and arrest this person now, or these people, and charge them with the murders. Okay. You just don't see that. But if you think about it, it's working out exactly how they want it to work out. So promise me, Lanny, I do believe he will be acquitted. I do. I personally don't think that there should be a trial. I think that the people of Indiana should start getting really, really, really vocal. Literally money by the thousands a day, just burning, lighting it on fire in front of you. Because Indiana's paying for this all the way around. Richard Allen doesn't have private defense, so it's the state's paying for his defense. The state's paying for the prosecution of Richard Allen. Indiana, you look like a bunch of fucking idiots. That's the only saving grace right now is that's the Superior Court and their ruling that saved the day for Indiana right now. But I know that people, if this continues on this type of a path, the Patty should start to worry if this continues on this path. I read it just a minute ago. How does Becky Patty know that Brad Holder is one of the Odinists? How the fuck would she know that? That's a very. I mean, I want you guys. What do you think? How would you know that? How would she know that? I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even know who the fucking guy was. If I'm Becky Patty, how do I know him? Law enforcement is doing an amazing effort to cover this up right under our noses. Yeah, I would like to hear Jennifer Coffindaffer speak on this. I would like to hear mainstream media try to speak on this. If you're any human and you're any breathing, functioning human, everything that's going on in this case is just, this isn't how you prosecute anybody for any crime, let alone double homicide. Yeah, justice for Abby and Libby, and I just, if I'm a parent of one of these two kids, and I read this motion today, I mean, how are you not livid with the police? How are you not livid with them? Like, my God. I don't get it. I don't get how you can seriously defend, like, how you wouldn't be pissed. This is your kids. These are your kids, and this is what this town did with this investigation that they thought it was, where's the outrage in that? It was more important for them to hide the truth than it was to truly give a fuck about your daughter or your niece or your granddaughter. You know what I mean? Like that's what this town is basically saying, and nobody seems to care, and nobody seems to say anything about that. And when I say nobody, I mean I would say fuck your gag order. Give me the microphone right now if I'm a parent, and I would say I just have a whole list of all my questions that I had to say and everything that was going on back in the day. And I would have how do you have any faith in this? Let's say that Richard Allen's guilty, guys. Then guess what? I believe that Richard Allen's going to be found not guilty. And so them doing this type of investigation is going to cost them Richard Allen, a guilty man, going free. I don't think that there would be these problems if Richard Allen was guilty. I would never felt. I just can't believe that that families being gagged, gag the lawyers. How are you gagging a family? Ridiculous. Patty says Keegan Kline set this up, in my opinion. I'm interested to see and read the Keegan Kline affidavits that are coming out, or maybe they're already out. I would go, yeah. I don't understand how anybody can read this motion and seriously think to themselves, this isn't a problem, or that they're making this up, or who cares if they lost these interviews? Who cares? It's not just Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall. Like, I think we're missing a pretty big part here. It's all of the interviews that took place between February 14th and 20th. Those would be the most important people, I would think, that you're interviewing. And then how does it take you until September to realize you don't have those interviews recorded? So you didn't go back and you didn't start the investigation? Like, I get at the beginning stage is all the gathering of the information, and then you start investigating, What in the world? They wanted to hang Ron Logan, and some people still do, by his toes upside down. I'm sorry, but Ron Logan could barely walk, man. He's not trudging through that water just by with that. And I'm going to ride it until the wheels fall off. I want to know why in the Ron Logan probable cause did it not mention the magic bullet? That would be part of the crime scene, no matter who you are thinking is involved in this murder. The bullet is the bullet, right? It's there. It was not ever talked about in the Ron Logan probable cause for so why wouldn't it be? And then all of a sudden in Richard Allen's, there's this talk of this bullet. What about the young guy that was emulating Brad Holder mentioned in that first document drop last year from the defense? Was he ever interviewed? I don't know. Yeah, I understand that they were already seized in an earlier search warrant. Do you think in those search warrants that was that was mentioned? I just find it hard to believe that it wouldn't be mentioned in that probable cause. Like, why would you not put that in there? Wouldn't that help your cause? Or no, we're going to leave this out. I say it just doesn't. You guys, there's no pictures of this bullet coming out of like the ground. There's no, like, in the recovery of the evidence. I was breaking down Brian Drake's, the chiropractor that got murdered. I was breaking down his digitals, and I'm just like looking at this, and I'm just like, how in the fucking world does the Idaho State Police not look at this man's movements? Because you guys got the search warrant, so here's all the data return on it. And all it would take you to see is that, okay, he was shot at, it's supposed to be dead at 7:26, 7:27. And his cell phone, okay, what's supposed to be next to him, right there out of his hand as he lays there. His cell phone beginning at 7:31, 7:33, and then 7:41, 7:47, 7:57, 8:01, 8:03, 8:11, 8:33. His phone is just moving all over. His phone is literally moving. And then two of the text messages that his phone received when they did the Cellbrite, extraction, and they looked at the data, it showed that a dead man had read his text messages after he was dead. And then I compared that to the phone moving around, and it was at the same time, 8:15, 8:16, 8:18, and 8:19. That phone was being used, and somebody was walking when they were using it. And it's like, okay, Brian Drake didn't do it. He's dead, right? They got body cams showing that they kicked in a door at 7:54. He's laying there dead. You got the person that you think that did it. He's driving in a vehicle with his phone completely the opposite way. And if he was to have his phone, it would be, along his path of travel, which was, a couple miles, not just a couple steps and, 20, 30, 40, 50 steps here and there, and then another 50. And I just scratch my head, and I'm just like, how something that's so obvious, like that they're saying in this situation here, it's so obvious, yet you're not willing to admit the obvious, then you have a like, you need to be excused from this, because you can't even admit the obvious. You guys look at my background. It's black. No, Lana, it's red. Okay, you need to be excused. You can't even admit the obvious. And for me as a parent, I would be, how can you literally be one of the family members of Abby and Libby, and if somebody was to hand you a microphone and say that this is our guy, Richard Allen did this, after seeing all of this shit? How can you truly, as a parent, say that? If you don't want something to happen ever again that happened to your loved ones, and you want justice for your kids, how can you say it? How? Yeah, Honey Bear, I think that's going to be interesting. I think a lot of stock is emerging in what other people have said, that the stock wasn't there before. I think it's starting to be there. These people are going to be deemed credible because of law enforcement. Boozle. I'd be livid, right? I'd be like, there's just, I'm not putting a man to death or behind bars for the rest of his life. Seeing all this shit, I'd be literally puking if I was them right now. I'd be feeling like uh, I'd be literally sick. I'd be fucking sick. But there'd be only one reason, in my personal opinion, as to why I would not state the obvious. Because if it would ruin something else, I'm not ready for this other heartache, so I have to bite the bullet on, letting it be this, because it's going to bring down a whole other fucking mess. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, and I'd be like, geez, what the fuck is going on? You have a guy in prison who hasn't been found guilty of anything. He should not even be there. He should be at least out, bail. Mm. It's a sad world we're living in when the police can't work with someone like Rossi or Baldwin that has discovered all of this shit, and even the prosecutor to say, okay, hey, holy shit, we have the wrong guy. Let's get the right guy together. And maybe that's a way you could save face. But it's politics. This is all politics. This is fucking sick. This is gross. 2 little girls and you're politicking. But it's always been like that. And that's why mainstream media won't say a fucking word. They're all owned. That's just sad. Can you imagine if Richard Allen wouldn't have gotten these 2 guys as his attorney? Yeah. Honey Bear, I agree. Let's hope so. Too many people are telling tales, but withholding truths in that little town of Delphi. I think it even goes past Delphi. I think it's Carroll County. It's kind of like Beaver County in Aliquippa. Like, Aliquippa is just a small part of Beaver County, but Beaver County is horrible. And I think it's going to get better, though. Better leadership is now there, but Brutaliana says, I can understand a parents feel the need to punish someone, but in good conscience, a parent should want to punish. Yeah. And I also think that so much time has passed, where your judgment and everything, I think, would be, you're not seeing red. But you can't possibly read this. Nobody could possibly read this on the air and go out there and be like, this is a bunch of shit. Like, meaning, who cares if they have, okay, so they lost a couple recordings. This was like a 5.5-year investigation. You know how long? Yeah, so some of the stuff got lost. Like, no, you're not going to hear that from one single person. And if you do, you should never listen to them again. But Farmer, what's up, buddy? I just can't. Maybe the parents are afraid. Maybe the families are afraid. Maybe some of them are. They feel like they can't say certain things. I don't know. All I know is that Rossi and Baldwin are going to do everything for their client. They're not on this path of, well, we don't have to mention this part so that we can keep, there isn't going to be no, I'm going to spare you. So I just hope that this trail doesn't lead back to where the rumors with this case have said it would, because I think that that's going to be absolutely this case gives me all the feels of like the movie with what's it, A Time to Kill, like just a town of just, I don't know. I don't know. It's just sick to me. Yeah, I always thought this was a much bigger sword of ring. I always thought we were missing big puzzle pieces. You know, like it isn't what you think it, you know, big puzzle pieces. If Rosie and Baldwin help Alan out of this, there will be a lifetime friendship between those three that will result. I'm praying for them. Hope they get him out. I think that they will 100%. Honey Bear, Lana, please take time to decompress and take care. Oh, thanks. Oh, yes. Always decompressing over here. Appreciate that. 13 months. We have a baby, Honey Bear. Yeah. Great comment there. A Time to Kill is one of the few movies that did its book justice. Blew me away. Yep. They cast that was perfect roles. So interviews with Brad Holder and Westfall are missing. Not to forget also the interview with Dan Dolan and Richard Allen is missing. Important evidence seems to go missing. This is not an incident. Yeah. Well, I think there's more than Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall from my understanding of the document that they released today. And they're basically telling me that February 14th to February 20th, anything that was recorded, maybe just like on that device, that DVR, if they use multiple DVRs, I don't know. But anything that was from February 14th to February 20th is gone. You have reports, but you don't have the recordings. And let me tell you how inaccurate reports are. What the fuck? In my opinion, says Paul, there was about 6 to 8 involved. You know, they always say that when you have more people involved in, I mean, anything in life, like think about like even like a surprise birthday party, the more people that you tell, the chances that it can get out. So, I believe that somebody in law enforcement is involved. There's no way that you can be protected if you don't have access to the material to protect yourself. You can't just, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing stuff go missing. We're seeing, you just have to be in a position that you have access. You know, this case, it's always seemed like there have been like 2 or 3 steps ahead. And the only way you can be 2 or 3 steps ahead is if you have an inside track. Good morning, Lana. Do you think that R&B will end up taking Bad Hair Day Gall to the Supreme again? She doesn't seem to be changing her ways. I think that she's going to do something with this. I think that if she doesn't do something with this, then I think that I think she's going to do something with it. I think that this motion is going to be not ignored. Paul says, I'd like to know why there's no autopsy report. There's no autopsy report? Pharmacy workers access to Sudafed. They have a lot of sniffles. Yeah, that's what I thought too. It's sealed. So, is there DNA at the scene? Do you guys believe that there's unknown male DNA at the scene? So we have none, not from RA. I'm just saying, do you guys believe that they have DNA that they ran through CODIS at all and that they didn't get a hit? And then do you think that otherwise it would have been mentioned, in my opinion? I think there is. You guys ever saw that interview with Anna? Anna talks about it because they were talking about using genealogy. How can you do genealogy without DNA? Yeah, I know that none matches Richard Allen. I'm saying I think that there's DNA there. And if there's DNA there and none of it matches Richard Allen, right? I think that I don't think that this could have been accomplished by one person, right? So, I question why the state never arrested another person. That's the comment of the day right there. And I'm going to wrap it up. That's great. Paul Ward says, Gull is so bitter. She swallowed razor blades for breakfast. Ah, shit. So my question of the day again. So this is going to be the comment of the day, but my question of the day is still going to be, how did Becky Patty know that Brad Holder was an Odin Knight? And she said it here on page 55, 58. That's somewhere. Women Doing Impossible Things says, cause it's all over his Facebook. She's the one that told a liar, or she is her 709. Was she snap DNA? A report said there was no DNA on the sheath. It's a brass snap. Yeah, that's gonna. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for the participation there. Love it. Love our chats. They're always top notch. Again, you guys rock. Prayers always to the family. Abby and Libby deserve better. Also, our community deserves better. If you are from the United States of America, we deserve better as we the people. Indiana literally just they're just going at themselves. Like, think about it. The state prosecuting Richard Allen, the state defending Richard Allen. Like, the state just like, what the fuck? So Indiana, just I'll be praying for your state. God, I really want this to go to a hearing. I want this to be oral argued. I think it would be a Again, make sure you follow me the rest of the week. I'll be talking about Karen Reed's case. I cannot believe that's going to trial literally in less than a month. How? I have no idea. There's a big Delphi hearing this coming Monday, the day after the Super Bowl. Again, you guys are awesome. Keep them honest, lady. Oh, we love you, Lana, and indeed fight for your right to survive. Yes, we gotta. The state smoking meth. Indiana. Who's your meth supplier state? It's the Hoosier state. Who's your meth supplier state? Farmer, you take care, buddy. Again, all of you guys are great. Thank you so much for all the super stickers and memberships. K Miller spreading it around. Spirit Walker 2023 new member. Welcome. Again, you guys rock. We'll see you on the flip side. See you tomorrow. They knew all about this. They buried it. Period. Until next time, guys. Peace.